Hello, my name is Patrick Burschauer. I'm the Safety and Wellness Manager for Smith Gardens and Pacific Plug and Liner. Welcome to our team. Today we are working in an active facility to understand safe work practices and orientation to working in our facilities. We value you as an individual team member. We want you to be equipped for safe work practices while you are with us at Smith Gardens and Pacific Plug and Liner. You are valuable. Thank you for being part of the team. As you work at Smith Gardens and Pacific Plug and Liner, please keep in mind that your safety is first. If you ever have a question about a job we're doing and how to do it safely, please reach out to your supervisor, your manager, HR, or even myself. We will be happy to review what we do and how to do it safely. When we think about who is responsible for a safety program, the simple answer is that we are all responsible. Managers, supervisors, staff, we all have a role in working safely. Management and supervisors have a responsibility to try to keep a workplace that is as safe as possible. In consideration with everybody that works in a work process, we will look at how to make our work safe. In conjunction with staff members, supervisors, managers, and our company leadership, we will work through incident reports and injuries and work processes to try to make our work safe. If you find yourself involved in a workplace injury, a near-miss incident, or even some property damage, it's important to report that immediately to your supervisor or just the next person in charge. After it's reported, we will work through an incident investigation process to understand what we can learn from that situation. We encourage you to report unsafe work practices or incidents without fear of reprisal. For the protection and safety of all employees, we have established safety rules and procedures as a guide to prevent accidents, injuries, and/or work illnesses. We are all held accountable to established rules, and compliance is mandatory. Here's a selection of the types of rules in place. Report any injury, accident, and/or illness immediately to your supervisor. Report any unsafe condition or defective equipment to your supervisor. Do not operate any equipment unless authorized. Do not engage in horseplay, scuffling, throwing objects, or playing practical jokes that may endanger you or other employees. Before starting any equipment, make sure it is safe to do so. A big part of avoiding injuries is understanding what can lead up to an injury. Hazards, or things that can cause an injury, are what we look for to try to minimize, reduce, or get rid of entirely to prevent injuries. It is a cooperative effort of all of us at all levels to understand the hazards that we have at work. We will work together to identify hazards and then, as we said before, try to reduce them to make a safe workplace. You will receive training in your work area on what the hazards are. It will be all of our responsibility to speak up and discuss those hazards if they change. Safety inspections are conducted periodically. Oftentimes we will do a safety inspection if there's an injury or an incident, but also when there's new equipment or a new process that we're using in our work. Much of our jobs are completed as a team, but keep in mind, as an individual member of a team, you are never put in a position where you will need to do a task that involves an imminent danger. Working in facilities like ours, it's important to be aware of chemicals. Chemical labels are one way that we understand the dangers associated with chemicals or fertilizers that we use. OSHA requires manufacturers to label drums, cylinders, bags, and containers that hold hazardous chemicals. Labels contain the identity of the chemical manufacturer, warnings about the chemical's health hazards, signal words such as danger, caution, or warning, procedures to work safely with the chemical, first aid instructions, and any special instructions for handling the chemical. It is important to always review and understand the chemical label before using or handling a chemical. You will find locations in our facilities that hold our safety data sheets, or SDS. The safety data sheets give us particular information about each chemical or fertilizer that we use on our facility. This will give us information such as the dangers associated with that chemical or fertilizer, as well as the first aid steps to use if we need them. In addition to the SDS and the chemical label, you'll also find posters of pictograms that help remind us what the dangers are with the chemicals and fertilizers that we use in our facility. Dust mask style respirators are an effective means for protecting us against debris and dust and other particulates in the air. Dust mask style respirators are available for your voluntary use at our facilities. Before using a dust mask style respirator, keep in mind some important rules. Make sure that you read the instructions carefully before using the respirator. Make sure that you keep your dust mask respirator clean and stored properly. Also, make sure that it is designed to protect you from the contaminant that you are trying to avoid. Lockout tagout refers to the procedure that we use to prevent the accidental release of stored energy on machinery. For instance, while maintenance work is underway on equipment, it could be highly dangerous if the equipment were to be turned on. This may start moving parts or send electricity or other energy to areas where people are working. This could result in serious injury or worse. The use of locks to forcefully prevent the starting or running of equipment is used to keep people safe. Do not ever remove a lock from locked out equipment without the correct authorization. The use of tags to indicate that equipment cannot be run, but for various reasons cannot be securely locked, is used to keep people safe. Do not ever remove a tag or operate a tagged off piece of equipment without the correct authorization. An evacuation plan for purposes of fire, earthquake, natural disasters, or other reasons will be presented during the orientation. Please look at this material carefully. We will practice evacuations several times a year so that we are ready. Understanding chemical labels, using dust mask respirators for certain types of work, or even completing a lockout tagout procedure, these are important steps to keep us safe. But these are also often tied to very specific tasks or jobs on our facilities. We're going to look now at some common hazards that all of us deal with working in our facilities. Walking in a facility may seem like it's a very hazard-free type of activity, but there's a lot of equipment and a lot of people that we need to keep in mind as we move from one location in a facility to the next location. For example, there can be wet floors, there can be uneven surfaces, or there can be cross traffic that we need to be aware of as we walk through a facility. Keep in mind where you are headed as you walk through the facility. From day to day and from hour to hour, let's keep in mind where we are going and the hazards that we have in front of us. At all of our facilities, a common hazard that we have is working with racks. We typically have two types of racks that we use. We use plug and liner racks and we use finished product racks. Both of these are heavy, made of steel, and if they come in contact with us, typically the rack wins. Let's keep some important things in mind when working with racks. Pull racks as often as possible with the turning wheels next to you. When the turning wheels are away from us, the rack may twist and turn in a way that is outside of our control. It's important to be mindful of where we place our hands on racks. Racks have posts with holes that support each shelf. If we place our fingers in these holes, we put ourselves at risk of serious finger injuries. Instead, we should practice purposely placing our hands on posts of where we are grabbing and then moving the rack. It's just as important to be mindful of where we place our feet when we are working with racks. Racks are heavy and mobile. The wheels of racks can easily run over toes and feet if we're not mindful of our feet positioning while working with racks. Just like our hands, we should practice purposely placing our feet and thinking about where they are in relationship to the rack while we move it. We work in an active environment. There is often a lot of carrying and a lot of lifting of product. Some of these things are light and easy, some of them are heavy and awkward. It's important to be purposeful and understand what we're doing before and during all of this lifting and carrying activity. Here are some tips to keep in mind when we are lifting and carrying. These can help us avoid injuries. Be purposeful. Regardless of the size of the item we are lifting, let's remember that we are lifting. Keep our feet as close as possible to the item we are lifting. Engage our core. Take our minds off our backs and focus instead on our core and legs to do the lifting. Once the item is off the ground, or off the table, or off the rack, wherever it is coming from, focus on keeping it as close to your body as possible. This will take the weight of the item spread across the larger muscle groups of our bodies rather than focused on one area like our back. Thank you for participating in this general safety orientation. As you leave this orientation, you will go to your new work area and receive specific training on how to do that job task as well as how to do it safely. When we work safely, we demonstrate a couple of things. We demonstrate to ourselves that we are valuable. We also demonstrate to our team members that as a team, we are valuable. Keep in mind, as you work in our facilities, you are a valuable team member to yourself and to the rest of us. Thank you for being here, and thank you for working safely.